Hi everyone, my name is Dylan Lipp, and I'm here at BrickFair Virginia 2025 with this 8-foot-tall Technic roller coaster called Nightmare Machine. Last year I brought another roller coaster called Rollback. It was a launched roller coaster in the other hall, but I wanted to try something different this year using my own track system that's actually still made out of Lego. It uses the little Technic pin connectors and the pins between those along with the Technic lift arms. And there's some flex rod between the pieces that come apart easily as well, but overall, if you just build those long enough, it actually bends on its own too. So it's a winged coaster. That means on the sides of the chassis, that's where each car sits. And it's also a flying coaster, which means that the passengers lay down. But right now, I don't have the passengers in there currently because the weight of it just can't get through the whole layout, unfortunately. But it could run with passengers before. And at home it also did. But hey Brandon, if you actually want to do the remote there. So inside the station there's this chain. There's two different chains, one of which takes it up the vertical lift hill, and the other pushes it along. And I want it to be completely automated, but unfortunately I didn't have time to figure all that out, so you have to kind of align it. And on that little gray tread there's some pins that push the car along. And then you have to get the timing right, but the vertical chain has these little lifter arms that will carry the whole thing up. And I had to create a custom chain for that as well, with those little 1x3 lift arms, because I tried it with the gray tread that's used on the other lifts, but it couldn't carry that weight, unfortunately. So I came up with that chain, and I had to create a custom gear for it as well, using other smaller Technic pieces. And that seems to be working well, although we've had a few motors break, unfortunately. Yeah, so I need to definitely get more motors if I want to bring this again next year and work out a few of the kinks. It's been slowing down, so sometimes we've had to flick it through that center area. It uses potential energy in a very poor way, unfortunately, mainly because of the fact that the cars are winged. So next year I'm also thinking of, if I want to bring this, I might also bring another roller coaster that just uses normal trains. Yeah.
So here we see it rising up to the very top, and then talk about kind of your design strategy with the track here and how this came together.
Yeah, so originally I was going to do a single rail type model where it's just a bunch of Technic pieces that create like a square shaped rail and then flex tubing through that. But I noticed in my tests initially that it didn't go through that very well at all. There was a lot of friction involved. So I looked online a little bit at different types of track that people used, and I took some inspiration from other people who were using those little pin connectors there, the joiners, I think they're called on BrickLink, and then pins between those and the lift arms that are used for the cross ties. And last year on my other roller coaster called Rollback, it was a launched coaster, I used the official Lego track system, and I've got quite a few gripes with that. One second. One of those gripes is that you can't do all the twists and turns that this kind of track system can do, because it's limited to like 90-degree pieces, and the only inversions on that track system are vertical loops, really. So I wanted to be able to do all these different types of twists and turns, and this track system allows for that.
Yeah, and then we get a closer look at the cars here, so talk a little bit more about some of the elements you used to design that.
So I had to go through a lot of different iterations of those, different wheel sizes. The chassis, each one has to have just the right spacing between each wheel. So the top wheels are called road wheels, which go on top of the track. The guide wheels are on the sides of the track, so when it's sideways, it doesn't shift too much. And then on the bottom are upstop wheels, which they basically prevent a roller coaster from falling off at all. A lot of people think you could get stuck upside down on a roller coaster, but upstop wheels make it so that as it rolls through an inversion, instead of getting stuck, it'll roll one way or the other. But obviously on this model I've had some issues in the upside down portion there. But if I had like metal bearings or something, that might work a lot better. So yeah. And then also originally the frame for each chassis, I did a bunch of like lift arms smashed together, sandwiched together for the center. But that was also causing a lot of friction because the wheel axles go straight through that. So I found these gray Technic frames. John might be able to show it on the camera. They're like little gray pieces there that are used for the inner frame of that. And because that's all one piece, the gray frame, it makes the axles roll much better.
And then what was your approach with kind of the structure of the coaster and kind of building up these big areas that are going to hold it all together?
So initially I wanted to do like these giant pillars that you see on a lot of really large roller coasters. Just, I'm going to pull out a piece here to show you. I was going to use a bunch of these pieces because they have a little hole through them. And I thought, okay, if I get a bunch of these and I put an axle through and stack them up, maybe that would make a really strong pillar, but these are really expensive on BrickLink, so I wasn't going to do that. Last year, for rollback, I had another similar tower structure that's segmented like this, and so I thought, okay, maybe I'll just do something like that. So I designed the towers on BrickLink Studio and ordered all the pieces from there and counted how many segments I needed, and these are really, really strong. There's still a little bit of wobbling when it goes down the first drop, but overall, they work great, and they can come apart into different segments, which is really nice for transportation.
And I know you've got some theming going on here, so down here at this end, we have had one car that met an unfortunate demise.
Yep, so the theme of this ride is it's an abandoned laboratory called Dream Labs, and they basically studied the human consciousness, human brain, and they built a roller coaster as one of their experiments, and they would combine that with certain stimulative effects, certain gases pumped through the cars to activate the brain in different ways and create a dream-like state in riders. But it's all powered by an artificial intelligence. So eventually the AI kind of took over and started doing its own kind of unethical experiments, and it eventually became known as the Nightmare Machine. And since then it's been completely abandoned. But it runs on its own because of that AI in the laboratory.
Okay. We're getting to see another drop here.
Yep.
How tall is this main tower?
I think it's 7.5 feet, which in minifig scale that translates to about 310 feet. And then I'll have to, it was going through much faster before, but there's this little anti-rollback with a rubber band there that keeps it from going backwards, and it's not quite reaching that point anymore.
And then if we move down to the other end, we can see more of the kind of technical specs here. So tell us about kind of this box setup and what the behind the scenes is.
Yeah, so this box was actually used for my last roller coaster rollback. So these labels are kind of wrong, but number 3 runs, I think, this hub over here with that custom gear and custom chain. And then number 6 runs a hub over there that powers the second lift hill. And I have another hub in there. The door on the front there is supposed to open up and close. It's not working right now, but in there's like a little skeleton hanging out, so it'll open up sometimes, and there'll be a skeleton sitting in there, and then it'll slowly close back down. And then the lights are some of the other switches here. I don't remember which ones. And yeah, that's all of the electrical stuff.
What are some of the minifigures and scenes kind of out here in front?
Yeah, so I didn't have a ton of extra, just random tourist minifigs. So we went out earlier and we got some figures from the vendors. So there's a bunch of random figures there, just totally random people. I think Steve is somewhere in there for some reason. Some Friends minifigs. And yeah.
Here's an example of how one of the minifigs.
Yep, so this is how they would lay down in the car. Again, we did have it running like that earlier, but too much weight right now, unfortunately. And so there's these little latch pieces that go on like that. I removed them because I was trying to test the weight with this train. But yeah, the minifigs latch in with these pieces, and they're also connected with studs, and so they're laying down. So when they go up, they're standing up. And when they come down, they're actually upside down completely. And I don't know how well that would work on the human body in real life. It might end up being a problem. I don't know of any roller coaster that actually sends people upside down vertically like that. But yeah, it's cool to look at anyway.
Was there a particular real life coaster that inspired this in any way?
Yeah, sort of. Originally, I wanted to do these spinning cars on the sides. So it's a winged coaster, but there are coasters in real life called fourth dimension coasters that the sidecars actually spin, and it's a controlled spin. And I was going to try that, but I realized that was just way too complicated. I was already trying to do too much as it is. So it's loosely based off of a ride called Ejinaika in, I think, Japan, in a park called Fuji-Q Highland. And visually, it looks a lot like that.
So obviously you've done multiple years of roller coasters now.
Yep.
Is this going to be an ongoing trend with you, other plans for the future?
I eventually want to do a whole park somewhere here in BrickFair and other conventions. I'd probably have to have my own space. Like I know the new Hashima people have a massive table that they have out, so I'd like to eventually do a massive park. But I want to perfect each ride first, and this isn't perfect yet, so yeah, it'll take some time, but I eventually want to do that.
Sounds good. If people want to follow your progress online, do you post your builds out there? Where can they find you?
I've got a small channel called Brick Thrills. I only have one video on it of my previous coaster and the behind the scenes of that, but I might upload this too. So yeah, there'll be footage on there. It's called Brick Thrills, and yeah, I'm hoping to grow that channel quite a bit.
Sounds good. Keep up the great work. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joshua.